today, Toolkit video, number, don't remember what we're on at this point, but we're back. It's been a while since we've been doing these, so we're back in a good cadence and flow. One question that I had previously, like when we started doing these videos early on, I would have from athletes and then a lot of coaches too as well. They would ask, hey, if I'm in a limiter phase of training with my athlete, or I'm in the off season, is usually how they would ask it, and my athlete needs to focus or prioritize strength specifically, how do I get them stronger while not making training boring? Or how do I get them stronger while still letting them play with CrossFit a little bit? So let's say I have an athlete who wants to finish a couple sessions a week and feel like they get to play the game, but I don't want them to go too deep into intensity because I want them to get stronger. So Dom and I came up with 5 examples of how you can design workouts to finish off one of those athlete sessions, or if you're the athlete, how you can finish your session off. If you're focusing on strength in your off season, but you still want to touch CrossFit or play the game a little bit. So we're going to give you guys some specific examples for each of those. Dom's going to jump in with the first one. Yep. Dom, lead us off.
So last time with Brandon, we did a toolkit and we talked about 3 phases as well: a limiter phase, a bridge phase, and then a performance phase. Like Foster said, our limiter phase, we want to include some of what we're going to work towards in that performance phase. Our limiter phase doesn't just have to be like limiters all day long and you never get to play, like he said. So a couple ways we can do that in our actual training is by developing a ladder where we're increasing the reps as we go through. It can be an AMRAP, an interval of sets, whatever, but we're increasing the reps as we go along so that we're stopped kind of by muscular endurance so that we can't tap into those higher portions of intensity. A second way we can do that is by putting in a bottleneck movement. So I just wrote a quick example here. This might be a longer chipper or down and back chipper, but if you want 50 wall ball, 50 echo bike, this limiter, if someone struggles with pressing, the 50 strict handstand push-ups is going to be the bulk of the workout. If someone really struggles with this, could take upwards of 5 minutes just on the strict handstand push-up, heart rate's going to come down. It's going to be a muscular limiter. That's kind of what we see in the ladder and the bottleneck. That helps us pull back some of that intensity. As coaches, we can even program this to limit volume accordingly to what we're trying to focus on our limiter. Number 3, quick unbroken sets. So when we're setting up intervals for you, we might actually prescribe unbroken movements, maybe all 3 movements, maybe just 1 movement. But when we're writing intervals, we're going to force you to go unbroken so that you actually have to rest between movements in order to hit them unbroken.
Can I jump in on the unbroken? This is one tactic that I use a lot in program design. If I'm trying to take somebody's muscle endurance work, so let's say you're in an off season, limiter phase of training, A is heavy back squats. Let's say you're gonna do your athlete needs some ring muscle up development. Let's say you'll do that in B, but you wanna get some additional pulling, vertical pulling in. I might write a workout that's got, we'll use strict pull-ups as an example. I might put that in a workout setting so I can kind of mix it up, give it a little bit of a different flavor, and write it with unbroken sets. Like Dom said, as soon as you write unbroken sets, and if you know your athlete well enough, or if you're the athlete, you know yourself well enough, you want to write it to where you probably only have like 2 or 3 reps in the tank when you get done with that unbroken set, so that you purposely have to come down, like rest. Like Dom was saying, it's essentially the same as writing. In this case, we look back at this gunkler right here. It would be the same as writing 5 sets or doing like 8 ring muscle ups by 5 sets, resting 60 seconds in between sets, or 90 seconds in between sets. It's really no different than that. So yeah, go ahead, Dom.
Then number 4, another way we can kind of pull back intensity, and we have to be careful with this one, but is descending rest. If we're doing intervals, I didn't write a specific workout. If you decrease the rest by 30 seconds as you go each round, you're not going to be able to go as hard. What that does allow is you could probably go a little harder on the first round, but what most athletes should do, if you're writing this for yourself, or when I write it to athletes, I would put an intent of pace this out in a way that you're going to be getting less rest, and try to have the same round split the whole time. And that will actually cause athletes to learn how to pace workouts and also pull back on intensity.
Well, define intensity real quick too, Dom, because a lot of times people will be like, wait a minute, I'm losing rest. Am I not going more intense here? Isn't that a higher intensity? Like what do we mean by intensity in this case?
Yeah, so I think a great example of that would be something like a 1-to-1 rest or a double rest, right? Where we're actually resting enough so that you can go as hard as you can every single round. A reverse of this type of ladder up would be like going down, a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As you get to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what you can do, you can go faster right? When you're going the opposite direction, it's going to force you to pace and be prepared for those bigger sets on the back end. That's why I was talking about it being more muscular. When you actually put an appropriate amount of rest in between each thing, it should allow you to go harder the entire time right out the gate. So if we kept 3 minutes rest the entire time, really the goal there probably in the set would be to either A, go unbroken, or B, be able to get the fastest split you could possibly get, which is what we're not looking for there. We actually want to pull out that type of speed.
Yeah, I think it just, an example that pops off the top of my head is if you had 4 sets of a 5-minute AMRAP and you only rode it with 60 seconds rest in between 5-minute AMRAPs, you're just moving at a 20-minute AMRAP pace.
Yes.
But if you ride 5-minute AMRAP with even 3 minutes of rest, you can go pretty darn hard in that 5 minutes. You're not truly working at that 20-minute pace. And we've talked about that in a previous toolkit, where in aerobic training, the principle is you would take 1/4 of the race distance or time and train intervals of it. So in this case, if we were riding a 5-minute AMRAP and the intention was to work at a 20-minute pace, riding 60 seconds of rest would actually force our athletes to truly work at that longer, slower, steadier pace.
And that also would be us looking at, like, are we training aerobic threshold or VO2 max?
Yeah, what are we training is important.
Is that in a mixed setting or a non-mixed setting? And then we just finish off here, and I'm gonna let Foster close us with functional pump, because this is probably his favorite thing to do since he's running so much. But it's a really easy way to limit intensity. And what would you do here?
Yeah, I don't know who came up with this. I don't know if Rich coined the term functional pump. We have functional bodybuilding. We don't use that term. All it is really just saying is like, look, at the end of the day, if I have an athlete that's really itching to have like a finisher, or if you're that athlete that always has to play, and you know what, guys, I'm that guy. Like, I get bored so quick. I'll admit it. I can't just at the end of the workout do tricep extensions and chest flies. Sometimes I can do it, but I want to mix it up a little bit. I've been working out since I was 12 years old. I'm 33, right? So I've been at it for a long time. So I'll just play around with different ideas of like, man, it could be something as simple, or I could take any of these ideas, but I'm just taking my accessory work, the bodybuilding movements that I might normally do, and I'm making them look like CrossFit. And sometimes it can get a little bit silly, but I'll give you an example of a workout I did in the garage the other night. This was like a pulling density piece. So I had a lot of agonist pieces, or as Brandon would say it was with a lot of redundancy. I did a 10-minute AMRAP of 5 strict chest to bar pull-ups, 10 alternating renegade rows. Like, that was it for 10 minutes. And it all had to be unbroken. And I mean, you can imagine I was resting like a minute in between, and I probably got like 5 rounds, because it would take me like a minute on, a minute off, because my grip was shot, my arms are pumped up. But that would be an example of like a functional pump. You could do a dumbbell bench workout with strict pull-ups. If you want a good resource for that, this is where going on to the Mayhem the competitors package, and we have the bodybuilding track. I think Angelo's writing that now, where he has a ton of examples of that. And then, you know, Rich actually writes a functional pump, I think, every week now in the current cycle we're in on Mayhem Compete. So you can grab some ideas from there too as well. But it's literally just taking the bodybuilding, quote unquote, accessory work that you do and make it look like CrossFit. If that floats your boat and makes you have some more fun, I'm with you. I like to do it as well. So
make sure you watch our toolkit before this so you can understand what the limiter phase looks like. And then you can actually apply some of that to that specific phase while you're hierarchying your priorities and making sure that you're working on your major limiters first, working on the skills that you need to work on first, and then playing at the end using a format like this. If you want help doing that, contact Mayhem Performance, Jake Foster at Mayhem.
There's too many
Nation.
Jakes. Jake Foster, MayhemNation.com.
If you just do Jake, you're going to get someone right.
Yeah. And one more thing I'll say, this is so important. If you're an athlete who needs to get stronger, we're trying to give you ideas to play and have some fun. But at the end of the day, like, man, we're so not fun. We said in our last podcast, there's no free lunches. Just be careful when you're doing this stuff. Like, it can get carried away really quickly. It does for me all the time in the garage when I'm working out. But these are some tools. That's what toolkit video, right? These are some tools to have in the toolbox when you're feeling a little burned out and you want to finish the session with something fun, but not take away from your off-season strength gains.